Hello, everyone. It's Ian, and I'm coming here at the top of this episode to tell you it's been another one of those weeks where everything feels like it's been a little chaotic. I'm going on a conference pretty soon. Each one of us have had a whole bunch to deal with work and everything, and so I wanted to say thank you for your listenership. We all really much appreciate it, and we're going to be rebroadcasting one of our previous episodes you've seen so far. Or you've heard so far, I should say. But thank you so much for listening and sticking tuned with us. We really appreciate it, especially when times like these happen, whenever life gets the best of us and, all that kind of stuff. So, again, we really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy listening to this episode again. Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where three guys come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I am joined by X-Man.
Hey, everybody.
And Stoney.
Hello.
Man, oh man, it has been a hectic past couple weeks.
Man, it's been busy this new year. And then you think about it, January's poofed on us.
I know.
It's gone.
Dude, I don't even want to hear about it.
What happened?
We're almost halfway through February.
I feel like last week was Christmas. And
dude, you're telling me. I feel like it is just slipping away. And then,
you know what's weird? I feel like I had a New Year's. Like, I don't even remember what I did for New Year's. Like, I remember Christmas, but I'm like, what did I do for New Year's? I don't think I did anything.
Well, let me throw one more at you.
Okay.
Okay. I've known Ian
right
for a couple years.
Okay.
You and I are coming on 2 years.
That's weird.
2 years that we've known each other and been great friends. I mean, really from the start. We're almost 2 years.
That is crazy.
You want to know something interesting?
What's that?
I equally thought that's not that long at all, and it's already been 2 years for you guys.
Yes.
At the same
2
time.
years.
That's so strange.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Well, so what are we talking about?
Well, interestingly enough, with relationships and friendships and stuff like that, how important are first impressions in your life?
Jeez, everything. Like, I mean, I like, honestly, I'll just own it. I am the first to say when I meet somebody, I've usually probably made up my mind about that person within the first minute.
Can first impressions be wrong?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
My thing, I'm in the camp of both sides of the coin of, like, I think first impressions.
Sounds like a millennial.
Oh, geez, here we go.
Take a stand,
I am.
man. Come on.
I am. I think
I
that.
take a stand. I'm sitting on the fence, and the fence post is up my butthole.
I think that.
Wow.
I think that there is both. First impressions are important, and I think that they can be in certain situations. But that doesn't mean that a person can't change. That's what I'm meaning. Is that you can? Is that I think that there's like two key moments. It's like your first impression and of course how you present yourself, especially in like a professional setting.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like a couple months in as you like redevelop an idea of like, after like the first impression is kind of like worn off and you kind of get a sense for the person. Mm-hmm. It's like it's the continuation of the person.
Right.
It's keeping up. Everyone can put on a mask for a day or so, but can you keep it up for 3 or 4 months?
Steve Harvey. I was watching something about Steve Harvey the other day.
Yeah.
And he said, in relationships, he said, men will only change for one woman.
Mm.
He says, if he's not changing, you're not the one.
Oh,
There you go.
interesting.
Oh, shit.
And I mean, I'm like, wow.
Yeah, right.
So when when you have that first impression of somebody, they're telling you a lot. They're not telling you everything. But, if he's not changing for you, move on.
Yeah. I see.
Because I remember when I first met Hottie Doctor, we met at a restaurant. 2 of our best friends were together in a relationship, and they were like, hey, maybe these 2 ought to get together.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks before I met Hottie Doctor, you remember the goatee I had?
Yeah.
I could grab it with my fist.
Wow.
And it stuck out 2 or 3 inches below my
It's
fist.
hard to even like remember, but now I do.
Yeah.
And I asked her, she doesn't like facial hair. And I says, what would have happened if I'd have had that goatee the first night we met? And she says, we probably wouldn't have had a second date.
Boom.
And I said, okay, well then let me hip you to something. It's a good thing you weren't wearing Birkenstocks the first time.
I thought you were going to say it's a good thing you didn't have a goatee too.
Because if you were wearing Birkenstocks on the first date, I probably wouldn't have went out with you a second date. And then I get to her house, after we date a while, and I see on the back door there's a whole sleeves of the shoes that you put on the door, and it's all Birkenstocks.
Oh my God! What a tree hugger!
You
got duped.
But so first impressions are important. We both said this thing could have tainted that first date.
Right.
What I like about your story is that, it goes a long way in proving that nonverbal impressions are just as important as any others. Like the way you look is a big deal. Right. And so I have a feeling like if I had met my wife and I, we had met online. And so for a long time, we carried on for months just through messaging and calling each other on the phone and stuff.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling like if I had walked the first time I saw her into the airport and walked in baggage claim, if I were 4.5 feet tall, she probably wouldn't have.
Y'all met on
even
a dating site? A dating site or something?
Yeah, we met on a website.
Do you know what the #1 dating site in Alabama is?
Oh, please no.
Ancestry.com.
Oh, God. You're so sad. That's terrible.
Oh,
at least we know we've offended at least one of the states in the United States now. Sorry, all of our Alabama friends.
I feel bad for
laughing. Tell us about that,
that
because that really doesn't allow for first impressions then, does it?
Okay, so...
Because you can be anybody you want online.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing.
There's filters. There's all kind of stuff.
Okay, so listen, it was my first time ever doing anything like that. So it was a recommendation of a friend that I do some online dating, and I was like, I don't know if I could do that. It's creepy. I don't want a booty call. Like that's just not me. But I'm also not a bar guy. I don't want to go hang out and get drunk and all of that sort of stuff, because I know that sometimes you get a little bleary in those situations.
And I don't mean to date you by any means, but this is also before Tinder and stuff, right? Or is this around the same time?
Yeah, it's around the same time.
Because I feel like now there's a big Tinder hookup thing that's
Tinder had not quite come out, but it's just prior to it.
I see.
And so, but all of the other things like eHarmony, all that stuff was already out.
Right.
Yeah.
But
what's the other big one? Plenty of Fish.
Something like that.
Yeah, but see, I didn't want any of that, and so and here's kind of where faith plays into that. Is when the friend of mine said, "Oh, you can do a Christian dating," so I didn't even know that. I didn't know there was a specific one. So I was like, okay,
they have dating
but
sites
I have to
for everything.
I know, but that's scary. But I have to tell you honestly, I put in my criteria and nobody matched. Not in my.
Oh wow!
And I lived in a metroplex of 4 million people.
Holy
and
cow.
So, and then I opened it up to the whole state. Nobody matched. And then I opened it up to the country.
And you got one.
Almost joking. And I got a match in California. And so my wife and I met online. She was in California. I wasn't. And so, but anyway, that profile was the first impression. And so for me, it was all about what she wrote. So it was all nonverbal. That would even happen. But I have to tell you, I would not give her my phone number, and I would not agree to call her. I said no for 2 weeks, and I would only do text messages with her because I was just leery of the whole thing.
Right.
So I didn't trust the technology or to protect me from some kind of weird experience or something.
Right.
So kind of I feel like still today about Craigslist, but anyway, so she eventually, I said, okay, you know what, I'll have a date with you. I'll call you on Saturday. And so I took her number, I called her, and we talked for 7 hours. And then once we got that convo going, I was in.
Oh yeah.
Hook, line, and sinker. Reel it in, baby. Because
it's once you kind of have confirmation that you're talking to a woman,
and not a serial killer.
Yes,
a serial killer,
not a 400-pound guy in the back of a computer with a voice changing apparatus.
A hairy dude with his boxers around his ankles.
Right, exactly. It kind of helps you a little bit to go okay, I think I could jump in head first now.
really high voice.
That's so interesting. If we're talking about our significant others in our relationship, I worked at the coffee shop with Mallory. And whenever she first started on there, she was definitely like to herself, did not talk to anybody, was and remained that way for a long time. And I always respected that because I thought that she was the kind of person that was like, I'm going to come to work, I'm going to work, do my job, I'm going to leave. And I was like, I can respect that because she would get the work done. It was very good at it. And I was like, you know what? If she doesn't want to talk to anybody, then so be it. And I'm not offended by that at all. And other people would kind of get offended by it a little bit because she would come off like as a little aggressive, like as far as like, you know, like she wasn't like the most quote unquote friendliest to like.
Was it like too assertive or something?
Kind of. It was like, again, like especially whenever she got comfortable in knowing what the work was not afraid to go like, come on, like do your job. And people were like, whoa, you know.
Yeah, see, a guy does that, and you're like, you know, you're awesome. Girl does that, and you're like, oh my gosh,
yeah, she's such a bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Right.
But anyway, so and then it was just there was one night in particular that I was working with her, and it was the first time that we kind of just started talking as friends, and we kind of opened up about a situation that we were both involved in with our best friend, and how we were kind of upset with them or frustrated.
Wait. Was it like a triangle thing? Like you were both interested
in
the same person?
So she had her best friend, I had my best friend, and I talked to her in regards to like having a mutual situation that she's in. She was like, I'm kind of frustrated with my best friend because
they were
of
like
X, Y.
each other.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't the same person.
Right, exactly. So she was like, I'm upset with my friend because of X, Y, Z or whatever. And I was like, funny story. I'm having a problem with my best friend, and it's the same sort of thing. And then we just had a long conversation. And then one thing led to another, a couple conversations like that. And then, you know, we kind of
since we've determined that first impressions are kind of important, how long after you met her and got the first impressions out of the way did you tell her you wanted to have sex with aliens?
I don't think I
Holy moly.
Out of the blue.
What just happened? Now, I have to tell you something funny, though. So when I finally I finally decided, okay, I'm getting serious about this girl. I had actually told her before I ever met my wife, before I ever met her in person, I actually told her on the phone after several months of us doing these calls.
Right.
You know, there is something about the safety of that. And listen, I'm really glad that's how my love story played out.
Right.
Because there was something about the safety of the worst thing being all you can do is hang up on me.
Right. Yeah.
That just allowed me to open up where I probably wouldn't have otherwise and just bare my soul. I mean, I told the whole story of my life, teeth, hair, and eyeballs. I mean, the good, the bad, the ugly. And at the end of that, there was something like super healing about it. So after we shared all of these close, intimate conversations, I finally just said, I love you. And then I was like, okay, I got to go. And she's like, wait.
Yeah, you can't just leave.
You can't just hang up. And she goes, wait, I want to tell you that I'm falling in love with you too. Wow. And so it was kind of this really neat thing. But boy, let me tell you want to talk about first impressions. Mm-hmm. So she walks out into the baggage claim area, and boom, I just laid a kiss on her. Right. And she was like, that was a first impression. And not one that was like in character for me.
Yeah.
And so like that was, I mean, I felt like.
So her first impression of you was a lie.
Shut up. Shut up. Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Oh man.
You just said it wasn't you, so you faked
it just wasn't like me to do that. But you know what? I don't know. There was just something that was giving me all this bravery and boldness and stuff.
The adrenaline.
You know, there's something about a good woman that can bring the best out of you.
Yeah,
absolutely. A good woman is going to bring the best out of you.
Well, it's all in the line. You know, like when you know that's your lady, like you're going to do whatever it takes to make that happen. And so, yeah, I mean, I was...
especially because at that point, when the first time you met her, how long were you talking to her at that point?
Oh, wow. Months.
Yeah. So at that point, you're like,
I sent her tickets for Christmas. I mean, it
was
our,
yeah. So you're like, I know this person pretty well.
Right.
Yeah.
So she came here, and then, man, it was when she left that I almost died, you know.
I can only imagine.
It was funny because my sister, poor thing, had to run the gauntlet of my work family. She had to spend Christmas with my family. This was our first week together.
Right.
And so, poor thing, so she gets on the, she has to go back to the airport, and I walk in, and my sister goes, boy, I don't know what I was expecting, but that was not it. I really liked her. And I was like, what the heck
Oh,
were you
what?
expecting?
So her
Wow.
first impression was a little bit different.
Yeah,
Right.
so I was like, wow. But anyway, I don't think it's just the personal relationships though that where this happens. I've been in a position since I was 18 of hiring people, and let me tell you, first impressions are everything.
You don't have to tell me, dude. I have one story in particular I want to tell.
Tell
later.
it. Tell it.
Oh, okay.
Hear me out.
No, not yet, but you will. I was working at, again, the coffee shop, as I always talk about, and I was in this kind of supervisory position, and I was always taught from people that obviously get paid more than I do, and of course have more clout to throw around, is that if you walk into a place and you act like you're supposed to be there and you act like you know what you're doing, again, a lot of times people don't really question you, and you can just kind of get away with a lot of stuff you're not probably supposed to. And I've done that before in the past, not to like do anything illegal or to hurt anybody, but a lot of times, just you act like you're supposed to be somewhere, and of course people were like, okay, he's supposed to be here.
I mean, you're not like talking about like trying on women's clothes at a fitting room or something, are you? Like,
no. But like a prime example is I've worked in I've worked with bands.
Yeah.
And I've worked with like musicians and stuff like that. And a lot of times like I may not have the correct credentials to get into certain places. But as long as you look the part and you walk the walk and you talk the talk, a lot of times people are like, oh yeah, he's supposed to be here. And
Interesting.
Or if you don't look like, you're like, oh, like a fish in a new tank,
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
right.
Then people
A super fan.
Exactly. A lot of times people won't question that,
Right.
and again, you can get away with a lot more. I'm not saying you should do that, by the way.
Yes, you should.
Yes,
Yes, you should.
But what I'm just using that as an
50
example.
ways to hack a concert.
That's right.
Thank you, Ian.
Anyways, is that a similar situation happened with a new hire at the coffee shop I was with. This young woman walks up behind the counter. And I had like this record book and stuff, and I had like when certain employees were going to go on certain breaks, and it was like my little chart to like know who gets lunches at what time.
CD there.
Well, no, but the company supplies it, and of course, and I would always obviously follow it. So again, they kind of would let people know like at this point they should get a break, and again, this person should come in and relieve this person, that kind of stuff, like a little like who is supposed to come in throughout the day. So it was that book, and then of course also like where I can make notes and stuff like that, and like again numbers of people, all that kind of stuff. Well, this girl walks up and she like has an apron on, like so she looks like she's supposed to be there, and she starts like messing with my book and stuff, and kind of like in an aggressive way. And I was like, I mean that's kind of weird. So I thought that again because we were kind of shorthanded that day, I was like, oh maybe she's from like another store, maybe she's coming to help me out, and the manager didn't tell me. With that manager, it happened where I didn't get the news until it was happening a lot of times. So this girl is like doing all this, and I'm like, and again, I'm trying to put my best foot forward, and I'm like, again, because it's also kind of chaotic. I have one guy on the making drinks, and I got me on like the drive-through stuff or whatever, and I'm like, hey, my name is Ian. Like, it's nice to meet you. Like, how can I help you? And then she was like, oh, hey, like it's I'm just here, I'm supposed to be doing some sort of deep clean shit or something, or I'm supposed to like, I don't know what's going on, she kind of says the manager's name and all that kind of stuff, told me I'm supposed to be here and, I'm supposed to do such and such, whatever. And I was like, okay, so like, are you like from another store? Are you coming here to help us or whatever? And she's like, oh no, it's my first day. So and I'm like, oh, okay, well, hold on, let me go ahead and step back. Then I
Get
was
the
like,
hell back from behind my counter.
Yeah, right.
And then I was
I'm
like,
gonna need you to
right,
take a step
and
over
especially and like again with my record book and stuff, because like the other employees aren't really supposed to mess with that.
Yeah, right.
It's like it's supposed to be for like the supervisors.
Right.
So like because she's messing with it, I was like, well, first of all, I was like, how about you put all my stuff down and let's go ahead and get you like clocked in the system, and like just know that was a slippery slope from there on. It was just a bad personality, was aggressive, and was like complaining, and it was just bad. And so my first impression of that person was not good.
Yeah.
And again, it did not get better.
Oh my
Because again,
gosh.
it even after she tried to like start to kind of get better, it was still hard for me to kind of work through that. Like I came there to like to shake your hand and to like I didn't even know your name until like after I was like in the back trying to get you signed in. I was like, oh yeah, by the way, like who are you? Like I don't. You kind of came off as aggressive and mean towards me, and I was like, I'm kind of your superior right now. Not like I'm trying to throw around weight or anything, but like. You know.
Yeah, but at the end of the day,
right, yeah.
what I think of you matters. You know,
Right.
I have to tell you, I've been on like the flip side of that.
Yeah.
Where I actually went in and interviewed for a company, and I was really excited about this job. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, you know, like a friend of mine had told me how great the company was and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I got an interview as a referral. From this friend who happened to work for the company. She had just changed, and she called me and says, you gotta come over here. You're gonna like it so much better, blah, blah, blah. So I go in and I'm talking to this lady, and I told her, she's like, well, tell me why you're considering leaving where you're at. And I was like, honestly, the leadership right above me is not leadership that I aspire to.
Right.
And so she asked a bunch of questions about, you know, what I was experiencing and all that sort of stuff. And then she kind of asked me to name names. Ooh. And I threw one out there. So I said, well, this person. Well, she goes, oh, I know X person. And she's like, he is a complete asshole. And I just looked, and honestly, it immediately turned me off. I was like, oh no. I mean, if you're going to, you know, I was sitting there very
even though
open,
it's true,
open to share my experiences, and that it wasn't that this person was an asshole. It's just that that's not the kind of leader that I wanted to work for. There's plenty of people who would. That just wasn't me. And so I wasn't trying to bash the person, but man, she like tore in, and I have to tell you, they offered me the job and I declined it because I couldn't envision myself where I was like, if they're going to talk about somebody else that way.
Oh yeah.
When they're done with me, they're going to talk about me that way too. And so I was like, I'm not down. So it's actually put that kind of first impression kind of put a bad taste in my own mouth.
Oh, so let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You have an example maybe of when you had a great first impression about somebody and it failed you miserably?
I mean, honestly,
me?
I'm just I'm totally kidding.
Oh, wow.
I'm totally messing with you.
Oh, man.
You know I love you.
You know I carry a gun, right?
That's what I loved about you. That was the first impression I had of you. And actually, that's not far from truth. When I met this Stoney man over here, let me tell you, I was in a weird spot. COVID had just started, and we were in this crazy time. There was some dude who was setting fires. Oh yeah, he burnt my office down, put a bomb threat, all this sort of stuff. Right. And so with all that going on, I was like, I need some protection, like help. And there was protection being offered around me, but it was kind of that like scary like, don't you worry about a thing. We'll be out here in the parking lot sitting and waiting and watching. Don't you worry about it. And I'm like, this is little too you know, tribal feeling. And so but anyway,
but like in an old Western, the saloon doors open up and here comes Stoney with his big iron on his hip.
Gunslinger boy.
So
and
you're saying I failed your first impression?
No, actually,
that was the
exceeded
question.
My expectation.
The question was, have you had a first impression and it backdoored on you?
Yeah.
Tanked on you.
I don't know. I mean, because at first when I met you, I thought total protector. Now I'm not so sure you wouldn't roll over me with your own vehicle. Like I'm.
Well, as your friend, I might, but you know, when I'm doing my job, probably not.
Right. I'm trying to think of one where it goes in the adverse. That's kind of hard. I've worked with some bands in the past that were like nice at first, and as you get to know them, they're like,
you know, the diva side.
Yeah. Well, not even that. They're just kind of like a jackass. And you're like, I mean, there's no, I don't know. Your guys are cool and all, but like, there's no need to act like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've met certain heroes, or you know, like the whole like don't meet your heroes. I've met certain like, how would you say, not mentors, but like role models. Yeah, I've met certain role models in my life that definitely were in both camps of impressing me and then also making me feel like, oh, I should never meet my heroes.
Yeah. So Stoney, let me ask you this, because all right, so one of the things that like I cannot stand as a first impression is fakey. If you're fakey,
Yeah.
I mean inauthentic. I hate that.
Yes.
Anybody that talks like that, I cannot stand that, or that over happy, that has to be manufactured happiness. It's not real. It's just I tend to kind of just my eyes glass over, and I kind of just dismiss that. So what is it for you? What kind of first impression can somebody put off that is just an immediate put off for you?
Besides Birkenstocks.
Yeah.
That's it.
Besides tree hugger.
right.
No. Probably the same thing. I don't like fake people.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell, you know, I don't mind confidence.
Yeah.
I don't mind a sliver of arrogance.
Yeah.
Because, like when you met me, I kind of had a little of both, and you were like looking at this guy, but I could back it up.
Yeah, no, you know what? You were everything I was hoping for. Trust me. Honestly.
But I also hope that I carried something else too, because I heard from other people like, you're not what we thought you were going to be. They just thought I'd be a stump on a log and not have care and compassion for the people that were going through all of the things that y'all were going through at the time too.
Right. Yeah.
So I tried to supersede what those expectations were of me and become part of the team and part of the family.
Oh, man. I have to tell you, dude, you brought so much peace to my life. Ugh. And then you've just been upsetting ever since.
Stop it.
But to be fake, you can tell when people are being fake. And
yeah,
if you don't have the qualifications, don't fake it. Tell me how you're going to get them.
Yeah.
I may hire you anyway.
Right.
Because I can do this and I can do this. I kind of stink a little bit here, but I make up for it with this.
Yeah.
But these people that come in and just browbeat you thinking that they're going to bend your will, that bugs me.
If you want to fake my, being happy about handing me my cheeseburger and fries, cool, but I cannot stand it. Tell me about you, Wolfman. Like, what is it that just immediately turns you off? Like, you're just like, eh.
In a lot of ways, it's if we can't mesh on the same level of humor, or I guess it really boils down to if you can't loosen up and be real with me. If we can't have that conversation where we can like cut up for a second and talk about some real stuff, like the below the surface stuff. If we're just talking about surface level stuff, it kind of gets on my nerves a little bit. If we can get below that and talk about some real life stuff, is when I feel like you're being a little more authentic with me. But I think more often than not, if I don't quite jive with the same sense of humor with somebody, it's hard for me to like. That's a kind of a turn off in some ways of like either we're not on the same page or you just don't understand. That it's just kind of that like a lot of times if I'm not saying my humor is complex, but if we can't like at least joke and laugh and kind of cut up a little bit, I can tell like it's not gonna probably work out the way.
You got to go deeper than the surface.
Exactly.
I'll give you an example. A long time ago, I was helping a friend dig a pond at his house, and the ground looked dry, and they were driving trucks on it.
Right.
They were doing all kind of stuff. So I was taking the track hoe into the middle, and we were going to back the dump trucks up to it, and I was going to start on one side and just dig the pond. And I get halfway out, and it's hard. I couldn't poke the dirt through certain the bucket through certain areas. And I keep going, and I get a little past halfway and sink up to the cab. Sink up, just drop it. I had to completely dig myself out.
Like a sinkhole.
Just I kind of feel what you're saying there. You get this, let's go a little deeper.
Right.
Because that's where the trust comes in. I don't trust everything I see all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to know, why you got that bag? Why is your coat bulging? Why are you doing this? What's deep?
All right. So all you listeners out there, just know the Retrospect men don't bullshit the bullshitters because we don't like it.
Yeah.
And it's true. You got to get to those deep conversations. That's kind of what started this.
Of course.
Was we got into those deep conversations and said, wow, what can we do with this conversation?
All right.
Yeah.
Because we developed that trust. But when you're looking at the surface of stuff, everything in a house is an illusion.
Right.
House isn't completely square, but you cut this, you put a little mud here, you paint it this way,
Yeah.
you put the texture on it, you hide stuff.
Right.
It looks perfect.
Go see how many houses are actually really square.
Right.
It's all an illusion. And that's what people like to do. That's why the internet and social media is the way it is.
Right. Of course.
You know, you very luckily occasionally find something that's true on the internet.
Yeah.
X-Man's an example of that.
Yeah.
You know, but how many people don't?
Well,
Yeah.
and that's I guess that's what I meant. Like, talking about it's easy for people to put on a mask. It's easy for people to pretend like they're somebody they're not.
You want to talk
For a
about
time.
first impressions?
But-
Don't look me in the eye when we start talking.
Oh man,
Yeah.
there you go. That's one way to get. Well, and I guess that's
Don't look me in the eye.
Yeah,
Don't.
it plays into that the same sort of thing I was talking about. I look at I gauge, I think, certain people by their reception to like being able to loosen up and have a laugh every now and then.
Yeah.
Is like if you're not able to do that, then it's like, okay, this person may be. I'm not saying I make judgments based off of that. I have noticed in the past.
I do.
A lot of times, I'm not saying like what I'm saying is I'm not saying like, oh, we can't be friends because of X. I'm just saying like I have been in situations where, you know, you try to have that little laugh, that little conversation where like you can go a little deeper and you can.
Well, think about how much the pandemic has screwed up just a good handshake.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, you're not even kidding, man.
Okay.
Yep.
You know, the
You can tell a
handshake
lot.
comes from hundreds and hundreds of years ago. You extended your hand so they could see you didn't have a weapon in it.
Right.
That was the basis of a handshake. You can't even touch people now.
I
know?
I
like
just,
a good firm handshake. Look me in the eye. Talk to me. Tell me what's going on.
Just this past weekend, I went in for a handshake and someone was going in for a fist up, and then we had the whole switcheroo where we going back and forth.
Oh
and
gosh, I
was
hate
like, oh,
that.
man.
It's like, what are we supposed to do?
Right.
I don't know. Let's do the claw. You know,
It
like,
just ended in me grabbing his fist and going, "I'm glad I got to
that's
see
so
you."
awkward. I mean, it's so here's the
I
it's
was
like
like,
shifting gears. You know, great, awesome.
Yeah, I was
You
like,
should
oh.
have like a ring that has a fist or a hand.
Yeah,
right,
And so you
yes.
can see what
Right.
you know, whatever you're reaching, you'll know what it is.
I'm
So-
gonna get me one of those rubber hands that you just put up your sleeve and shake, and then it comes off, and I'm like, see, I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Right, yeah.
That's funny,
That is good.
But I'm with you, and I always tell my kids, look that person in the eye when you're
Yeah.
talking to them. And I don't ever let them get away with that. Like, because you know what? That's just socially awkward. I mean, if
Oh,
you
of
cannot look
course.
another person in the eye when you're speaking,
Oh, dude.
that's bad. That's
Right.
real
No,
bad.
I agree 100%. You know?
So yeah, I think we're like I definitely hear the theme that fakey is no bueno. So don't. do
Speaking
the
of
fakey
eye
thing.
contact, I knew a girl that used to like look at your chest as she was talking to you, and it was like the most unsettling because I felt like it was.
Now you know what they felt like for,
I know,
for
right?
years and years.
I'm like, man, it feels weird, but it was like I don't know, it was a weird.
Have you seen the little
situation.
fake glasses with the two little boobies on top of the forehead?
Oh yeah.
No.
So you look up.
So you look
Oh,
up at them?
man.
Yeah.
look
Wow,
up
that's
instead.
funny.
That's hysterical.
So if first impression, we got past the first impression, and we did a lot of talking about relationships. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So what's more important in a relationship, the first kiss or the first fart?
Oh man.
Oh wow! I have to tell you something, and you're me not going to believe this, but I
Out of you,
swear to
probably
you,
will
I swear
believe
to
it.
you, we did not share our first farts until like 10 years into our marriage.
What? That's not possible.
No, and I'm serious.
How do you not? What?
Yeah, we didn't. Like it was kind of a sacred ground thing, you know?
Really?
Like, yeah, yeah.
They like their me
But
time.
and you know what happened? You know what happened? Like I was laughing uncontrollably, and I just farted, and then it made us laugh
then it
even
was on.
harder,
Yeah, and then it was on.
and then it was kind of a, so I
So he broke the seal, I think is what I'm hearing.
yeah, and then you know when you have kids, that kind of like loosens you up too, like
Right, right.
You know,
Well, see, that's the only time I'm allowed to fart is when I save one up for Magnus. And I either crop dust him or he's sitting there on the
saw
couch.
videos of you doing that to that
Oh,
poor kid.
man.
I would never want to be your kid.
I've
Yes,
never heard.
farting in your face.
I've never heard a child so close to throwing up in my life.
I know, right?
It's funny. I love
That
it.
was awesome.
I
You
was
know that
fun. It
video
was very
video.
funny. It was a very funny video.
You're gonna get paid back for that one day.
Oh, absolutely. I went to his room one night and I could hear him doing something, and you know he laid down, you know, and I guess he had maybe just fallen asleep like a minute before, and I waylaid one in his
Oh,
room, and you
man.
hear him going.
Oh,
Like he
no,
was smacked
stop.
off.
Oh, dude.
Jeez.
I can't even stand the thought of that. Probably like two hams smacking together. You know, I'm thinking right now, Ian, like, can you imagine Stoney? He's laying on his deathbed, right in the hospital.
Oh,
He's got
no.
a ventilator on and everything. Magnus comes up to him to give him his last ride. He lifts up his
No.
oxygen mask and just rips one off.
Yeah.
Take that.
It's for old time's sake. Oh man,
That's awesome.
you gotta watch out for the revenge.
All right, but to answer your question, I really think it's kind of the first kiss, man. I think that sets the tone.
Well, for you, yes,
Oh, well,
All right.
yeah.
because that's how you started it all.
Right.
Yeah. It was a dumb question.
No. But to be honest, though, I think it works. I think both of them are important in different ways, but I think
Right.
that they're because I think
That's a good point.
because it opens up, like, I think it's that first level of intimacy, and then like there's this somehow distant second level of intimacy.
Well,
You're
if you
like,
don't
I'm
want people
afraid
to be fake, then
I mean,
I
yeah.
guess you have to kind of accept
exactly.
them for.
At some point in time, you have to look at your significant other and go, "I have to take a shit."
Yeah, right.
You're like,
and
that's just like-
also I have a
right.
wart. I have a wart in my naughty spot.
Oh, man,
And I
I-
have a this and I have a that. You
Yeah,
know, like,
I
So
that.
the bathroom break leaves a brand new first impression.
yeah, right. Yeah. If the second you're comfortable enough
Yeah.
with that, it's like, okay, I think this person trusts me in a whole new way now.
But
Yeah.
first impressions actually go a lot deeper than that. I mean, like Hottie Doctor and I we're going to this restaurant and we loved it from the very first day. We loved that restaurant. We were there 2, maybe 4 times a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden it took a dive.
Right.
And we never went back.
Yeah.
But our first impression, we were telling everybody about this
Yeah,
place. We
right.
even had our engagement party there. And that's where they took the dump on it. And it was just, we've only been back once. They seemed to have improved a couple of things. But it was like, we know that things mess up. But when they didn't talk to her or listen to her or respect her, that's when I lost my mind.
yeah.
Right.
But everything is first impressions if you think about it.
Right.
Restaurants,
Oh,
you know, visual, everything, you know.
And have you ever had that like impression where it wasn't a good one, but then you kind of like recovered from that? Because that's very rare.
Yeah.
I think.
Yes.
I think that, you know, once you've kind of got a bad taste in your mouth, it's there.
Mhm.
And so I'm like you.
Well,
like,
think about it. You know, when you have an open house, they bake cookies. They bake chocolate chip cookies
Yeah,
in the
right.
open house to get
Oh,
that
man.
smell going through there.
yeah.
You know, I mean, that's why they do that.
It
That's a
makes
first
that house a
impression.
home.
That smell and that memory burn that memory into you.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
so
man.
that's your first impression when you walk in to this open house when you're buying a house. You know,
Yeah.
just a thought. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, you're
No,
right. You're right. I mean, because like I said, I think it probably associates with home and homeliness, and
Yeah.
you're probably your childhood home, and so it elicits some sort of positive response from everybody.
Well, and I think that, you know, we pick our environments, even
Right,
our
right.
physical space, to attract a certain first impression, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, like if you're looking for a booty call, you're probably going to go somewhere different than you are looking for a
Right.
you know, a long-term relationship and a lot. And so, I mean, those could be two really different things. And so, you know, I think that if you think even about, I think that physical space also says a lot about what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
You know,
And I think this is all playing into a bigger question as well, is expectation. As I think that like expectation, I think has a lot to play in first impressions of certain things. If someone tells you bad things about somebody and you go in with low expectations, and then of course they are a good or decent person, or a good and decent restaurant or something like that, it could change your perspective of like, I've done this with movies before. I've gone in with no expectations or like rock bottom expectations. Like, I'm like, this is going to be a bad movie. And then I go out going like, that was kind of a fun experience, you know? And it's like, I think that kind of can play into that a little bit as well, as far as certain things. I did that with a coffee shop that's like a local coffee shop. I had no idea what it was, a little hole in the wall kind of place. Didn't really have a huge expectation for anything. Walked in there and got like served this beautiful latte on this like wooden board and this beautiful mug, and I was like, wow, this is a whole experience. And I was like, this was like a presentation here. And I think it changed that.
But you know what? I mean, on the dark side, you have to think about who we are as human beings and kind of realize that when you're seeking a bad first impression, when you're seeking that out, I mean, we all do it. I mean, right? I mean, my sisters growing up, I remember they would look for bad boys to date. They didn't like the nice one. They married those guys, the nice ones, but the ones that they dated leading up to that, I was like, geez, wow.
Yeah.
You know, if they rode motorcycles or they looked like they did, you know, tattoos and stuff like that, they loved that stuff, you know? So I think it says something too. Like, I think you have to look at what kind of first impressions you're trying to evoke in your life, you know? Because that says a lot about like maybe where you're at. It says a lot about you as a person. Like, are you seeking out good first impressions? Or are you seeking out ones that are intentionally bad?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, a first impression is the first gauge that you have on trust.
Yeah.
Okay. Trust. Right. That's it. Okay. You know, if I leave a bad impression, you're not going to trust me. If I leave a good impression, I might gain a little bit of trust, and then we work from there. So, you know, that's everything. You know, salespeople train to learn how to take advantage of that. Confidence people learn how to take advantage of that, because that first impression is so important. Yeah. You know, when you go into restaurants, or you know, hey, even if you go into a casino, you know, first impression, how do they get you to stay there longer? There's no clocks. They pump oxygen in. They have certain scents, the lights.
Right.
You know, they get you to do something maybe you normally wouldn't do, and that's spend more money.
Right.
So first impressions are everything in life.
Yeah.
Right.
I think.
So why do we give off impressions sometimes that we don't intend to? Like, if first impressions are everything and we know that, why do you think it is that sometimes we give off impressions that we don't intend to?
Because subconsciously we don't want what the other person has. Subconsciously, I would think.
I think certain aspects for me have been, if I'm standing for a belief and I may say something that I know that I probably mean, but like probably I wouldn't say this to someone if I was meeting them for the first time. You know what I mean? It's like I've met certain people for the first time, and then like somehow a conversation broke out about something. And I was like, well, and I was kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. And I was talking about certain things, and I was like, I probably wouldn't normally say this to someone I'm just meeting, but it's like, but we're in this conversation, and I'm going to stand for what I believe in, you know? So that's kind of how, you know, that's at least an aspect for my life that I've realized that I've got myself into, where I was like, I probably wouldn't, meeting this person for the first time, I wouldn't be talking about politics and my belief system, but here we are. And I'm like, well, I don't want that to be my first impression, but, you know, I don't know. So.
What about you?
Interesting.
You know, for me, I think some of it could be just like care factor, whether or not you really care about that or two. You know, like,
well, I like what you're saying there. That's amazing, because, you know, somebody tried to offend me the other day.
Yeah.
And I pulled an old meme out that I love. You know, for you to offend me, I would have to first care about your opinion.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Which I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes I'm just going to be me, because I don't give a shit what you think.
Right.
So I'm not worried about the first impression there.
Yeah.
When I know what your bullshit is and what your game is,
right.
I'm not worried about what my first impression is on you.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, everybody does this, whether they consciously do it or not. You know, if your boss is going to come over to your house and have dinner, you're gonna intentionally create a space for a good first impression.
Right.
But, you know, if it's like, you know, Aunt Effie's friend from down the street who drives a golf cart in the neighborhood, you're not going to care as much. I mean, you're just not.
Yeah.
And so
there's got to be benefit to it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's important to kind of, you know, talk about when you're talking about impressions, is sometimes we just care more than others.
And again, another example of that, I think, is I've met girlfriends' parents before, and a lot of times, you guys know who I am. I've got long hair. I kind of dress like a rock star every now and then. I'm that kind of guy. I have been told, and I don't believe this, but I've been told like I can give off the bad boy vibe every now and then, even though again to parents that have like seen pictures of me but don't know who I am as a person, so they have a preconceived idea of who I am. I mean, so that's what I'm saying is a lot of times, and I think it's funny, and I've done this before multiple times, is meeting them for the first time. I will intentionally go out my way to clean up a little more, and we'll look a little more professional. Not like a whole 3-piece suit or anything like that. But I have been known to make sure I look cleaned up and presentable. Yeah. And
you don't wear the man bun?
Oh, of course not. Never. Is it?
That's only for special occasions.
That's just vacuuming in his undies.
Right. But I go there and I try my best to put my best foot forward and say, like, again, maybe I'm probably being a little bit more clean and put together than I normally would present, but I'm trying to be like, hey, like I am a trustworthy person. And again, and I'll try and make, especially like a lot of times the dad character will always be a little more harsh on the edges. And if I can crack a smile or get a laugh, I'm like, I know I'm doing something right. Because I can always make the mom like, love me in some capacity, because I'm always like, I'm just
creepy.
No,
I was going to say something.
No, I'm just saying, like, again, I'm just meaning like in the fact that like I try to be put together and be nice and kind and a gentleman as best I can. So a lot of times, like, again, the dad's always kind of the one who's like, oh, I don't know about him.
Cougar bait.
No, please.
Cougar bait.
No,
Bad boy cougar bait.
No. But anyways, and again, a lot of times after the fact, it's always fun to hear the afterwards of like, I wasn't expecting that. I thought he was going to be a jackass, and he turned out to be a really nice guy.
I like hearing that too. You weren't what I expected.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
You're not what I thought you were going to be.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
But in a good way of like,
absolutely.
So I remember the first time meeting X-Man over here. I had promised myself for a handful of years that I wouldn't go back to working in the industry that he and I work in. And I was like, I just told myself, like, I got hurt by people in that realm. And I just was like, I'm just not really one for really going back in head first. And my dad ended up knowing people, and he was like, it's a cool opportunity. Just give it a shot. Like, just hear me out. If nothing else. He's like, hear me out.
I love that.
Just go talk to him and sit down. And I told him, I think no once or twice, and never to X-Man explicitly. But I told my dad, I was like, maybe I'll consider it. And I remember it was like one Wednesday or whatever, I had agreed to go sit down and talk with him. And he complimented my hat, and it was just an awesome environment, and it was very positive, and it felt so different than all the times before, even just in that small little conversation. And it was exciting, and he got me hyped, and he got me excited to like potentially do some work in this. And I was like, am I really about to do this? And then lo and behold, here I am a few years later.
Hold on. Let me tell you exactly. Let me tell you what I thought about X-Man when I first met him.
Right.
Everybody close your ears. This isn't going to be nice, is it?
Oh, he's so serious.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't think anything of it.
Wow. Oh, wow. I told you. I told you it wasn't going to be nice.
Oh, come on. That was awesome.
and their friends are the foundation of our relationships.
Right.
No,
that's
not true. That is
you
not
made
true.
such a great first impression. Like I was so excited about you.
I'm glad to hear that.
I mean, I like pulled the guy that brought you in.
Right.
I pulled him back in, and I was like, "That's our guy right there.
that's
That's our
our
guy.
guy.
That's our guy.
Please.
I was so excited. I was like, I like him."
That's so, and that's really exciting, because like I said, after promising myself for so long, I didn't want to do it, and I was like, I don't want to get hurt again. I don't want to just get back into it, because I was like, it's fun work, but at the same time, it's like I just don't want to.
See, what's interesting is it was the opposite for you. Like your first impression is exactly what I hoped for and expected. But it was actually...
Was it really?
It was actually your second impression, though, that kind of turned that from a professional thing to a friendship, because that went very quickly. Like we went very quick and you don't do that a lot in your professional life. There are just especially when you're in situations where you're working together, right? You don't go, I can't. I'm looking for people to swap into from a working relationship to friendship. But I'm telling you, it was very quick for you.
Well, the advantage that you and I have, that I believe in that first impression and friendship thing, is that we don't apologize for being men of God. Right. Podcast, men of faith, however you want to say it.
Yep.
So we had that advantage.
You're right.
We believe that things happen for a reason.
Yeah, we were rallying around the same flagpole.
Yep. So we have that advantage.
Agreed.
Right. Not everybody has that advantage and the ability to discern certain things.
Right. Yeah.
And so we have a different advantage.
But I knew instantly that, that, still waters run deep with you. There was something underneath all of the rest of it that was connecting for me. And so, I mean,
well, you had the advantage of being able to watch your kids around me.
Yeah. Right. Oh, that's true. That's like, that's like, here's my dog.
Right.
If they like you, if they like you, there's a big thing. Yeah.
And that's true. And that their first impression is even better.
And I will tell you, parents out there, I'm telling the truth right now. What your kids think of other people matter, because let me tell you, they're almost always right. Same thing for my wife. Like if she's told me so many times, just in a quick meeting. No, watch that, because that's not. And every single time, I'm not kidding. Every single time she's right.
Right.
Every time. It may take a while for it to develop into the truth telling, but she's almost always right, and she's always right about why
specifically,
right? Because I'm like, really, I
didn't
pick up on that.
That's that spirit of discernment.
Yeah. But that's also the internal optimist in me. Just thinking everybody, I want to believe the best of everybody, and all that. But she kind of picks up on this way other thing, and I'm kind of like, well, I'll be darned. So now when she does it, I don't even question. I'm like, hey, my wife doesn't like you, man. You're out.
Yeah. Do you remember your first impressions with your best friends? Or in that kind of capacity, do you remember a first impression with someone that you still are?
Man, see, that's hard for me, because other than X-Man, most of my friends are 20, 30 years.
Right.
I don't really remember that first. I remember certain things about it, like Big D. When I first met him, we were in a situation kind of together. He was doing something, I was doing something else, and we just kind of got put together. Yeah. And just the minute we met, we were like, we're going to be best friends.
Right.
And we were best friends from that moment.
Wow. That's
his best friends were like Jack Daniels, Johnny Walker. Wow.
I mean, I like to think I'm pretty good friends with them as well.
It's too long ago.
Oh, yeah.
But my first impression with him, we kind of knew right away that, we were going to be friends.
Right.
I think, but the situation was also important there. It was a situation where you needed to have immediate vulnerability. And so we kind of opened up quickly, which is not also my norm. I mean, I'm not a real trusting, it takes me a while because of what I do. It takes me a while to try to warm up usually.
Right.
Whether I'll always be nice to you, but
but in your position, first impressions aside, in your position, people always want something.
Right, exactly.
And they have an ulterior motive. Yes. You may not see that right. They may come at you, hey, X-Man, how's everything going?
Hug me while the knife is going in.
Yes. Okay, but they want something else. So, and the same kind of in my profession.
Yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't be around if people weren't bad.
Yeah.
You know. So I mean, you kind of have that. First impressions are important, but you kind of got to get past that first impression to find out what their real ulterior motive is.
Right. Yep. You're right. Yeah. And that's the patience part. It can.
That can callous you.
It can, absolutely. You kind of have to sign up knowing that you're going to get hurt and there's going to be suffering.
You got to find out. Was it Bob Marley who said everybody's going to hurt you? Yeah. You just have to find the ones that are worth the pain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's so smart. So true. So good.
That's good stuff.
Really hashtag
Bob Marley. I remember.
That's some good music there too.
Oh my God. Yeah, it is.
I specifically remember my best friend. He and I were with a youth camp.
Is that who you got together and did the alien dating site? You know, for those who want to have sex with aliens when they finally show up.
No.
Oh.
That is all false. Fake news. Is that he and I were at like a youth group conference thing, and we were off in Florida. And I remember I had already established a first impression by this point, because he was doing the work that I kind of wanted to do, working with bands, running sound, doing lights, and like being like a musician. It was like, oh, it's so cool. I want to be this guy. And he was like 2 years younger than me, so I was kind of jealous. And he kind of had this like demeanor of like, he was charismatic, and he was like charming and funny, and he was kind of that guy. And so he was easy to get along with and all that kind of stuff like that. And so I was very, I was going into this kind of hoping that I could like learn from him in a way of like, I want to kind of be more like that.
Aww.
In a way.
It's like The Apprentice.
Right, but kind of in like a little more jealous of a way, sort of, because again, like
I want your job.
Yeah, I was like kind of, but not like in a hurtful way, but in like,
There's a millennial for you, wanting somebody's job and not willing to put in the time.
No. Is the fact that not like I didn't want it like that. I'm talking about like the
Zing.
I would observe him in like, how does he operate? How did he get to where he is right now? Because I want to do that. That was kind of my mindset about it. But we had this one night where we stayed in the same room, and we were like in this like, there was like some like dorm areas, like a little like living room, if you want to call it that area. And we're sitting there and we're on like our laptops and we're doing stuff, and we just start shooting the breeze for a second. It's the first time I had like a real conversation with him, like that wasn't just like about work or some sort of like goofy conversation. And the more we started talking, the more we had in common, and we just started cracking jokes, and we started like, there was certain inside jokes because of the material that we liked and because of the things we were interested in, that we kind of connected on that. And that was that first real moment of like, it was the first like that transitional step of like, it wasn't just like me trying to look up to this person, or how can I work for this person, or how can I, all that kind of stuff. It was
Let's
like,
get it on.
No, not like that. And we've kind of been best friends ever since then. It was like ever since that point, whenever we started working together, it was just, we kind of had this kindred spirit of like, we kind of understood each other. And even to this day, like he and I can have a very minimal conversation, and I understand kind of, not what he's thinking, but I understand certain cues, and it's very interesting. It was a very interesting friendship, and it's been probably over
Sounds
10
like
or so years.
It's pretty
then.
intimate to share laptop space with someone. I mean, wow,
No. It was never anything.
Thanks,
like that.
Wolfman. Thanks.
I mean, hey,
Thanks.
I mean,
very, very
Sorry,
nice.
Just sharing and being vulnerable and everything. Huh?
Yeah, I
don't
really
know.
like it.
Oh, and that's why I don't have very many best friends, but I consider him one of my best friends.
I mean,
don't
if
have
you
very many
come to
friends.
me and with the expectation of us sharing laptop time, I mean, it's gonna take a minute. I'm gonna have to think about it. You know,
All right,
you have
okay.
to put a ring on it or
You
something.
can say no.
I see.
Actually, I am no, but I do love you.
X-Man
Right.
says he's not gay, but $20 is
Yeah,
$20.
I don't-
Oh my God!
What I'm saying is, I don't understand what he's talking about. Laptop space. Are we talking about sharing the same laptop on both of our laps?
I
Like,
don't
what
know.
do
You know,
mean?
you said you're both doing your laptops.
No,
and
I was saying
everything,
I
and-
was on the sofa with my laptop, and he was in like the recliner with his. We're talking across the room, and I just started talking about certain things. It's not that.
I don't know. It's getting
Jesus.
kind of weird for me.
I'm feeling kind of gross.
I just want to apologize to our listeners.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. I was sharing a very,
I just love to
very
give you a
touching
hard
moment
time.
with my friend. I know.
Yeah, see, there was a lot of touching.
No.
I'm just very. This is right back weird up there
I
with the
can't-
aliens, Stoney.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, we got to stop.
I just want you to know that you both are making it weird. It is not a weird situation.
All I know
at all.
is that I maybe needed some
I'm not the one
plexiglass.
who brought up talking laptop
I
space
know,
with
right?
my new friend.
Love it.
Right.
All righty then.
I wish I could see how red he is right now. I just love to. I
right.
don't know.
You know, guys, we like to have fun on the show.
We do.
Of
we do.
course.
And we pick
Especially
on each
at
other
Wolfman's
a lot.
expense.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
That's what millennials are for, to pick on.
Of course.
But we try to offend at least one person, but we're laughing. We're having a good time.
Right.
Don't think that we are taking this very seriously.
And don't take it personally if we haven't offended you, because
Yes.
we will.
Yes, the
At
year
one
is
point,
still
that's
young. I promise we will get around to offending you before the year ends.
That's
Trust
right.
me.
Just stick
So,
around.
You know, we love each other, and we thank you for being part of this conversation.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Let's tell these people how they can.
Yes. How
get
can
us
they
to
find
know.
us, Ian?
Yes, we have a link tree /Retrospect Pod, and that's where all of our links are. But you can also just type in Retrospect Pod on most of the social media platforms and find us that way. Or you can just type in Retrospect on your favorite podcast platform. We'll probably show up.
And we've done a few podcasts with topics that other people want us to talk about. If you've got something you want us to talk about,
yeah.
let us know.
Reach out.
You know, join into the conversation with us. Tell us what you think.
We have a theoretical whiteboard that we write all
That's
of our
right.
suggestions down.
And share the podcast. Share it with your friends. Share it with your
Yes.
family. Make sure that you subscribe and like us on Facebook. I mean,
And
all of those.
Spotify
things.
has a way that you can actually do 5 stars. Give us a 5-star
Right.
rating
If
you like it.
the platform you're listening on has the ability to rate, go ahead and give us 5 stars.
If you don't do all of the things that we just said, Ian might have laptop time with you.
Oh,
you want to
Jesus.
avoid that at all costs. So
So we're gonna share the same laptop. but
come
just
on, take it to the bridge, Ian. Come on.
take it to the bridge. Anyways, like Stoney had said already, I hope that we have offended at least one person. If not, go somewhere.
Wow.
But until next time, thank you so much for listening. Bye bye.
See ya.
Peace.